quick review. You know about the cell cycle, that all cells are in some phase of. You know that not all your cells are dividing at once. And now you know that when they do divide, they move from this. Oops, that's not on there, is it? I thought I was presenting. They move from this, which we call interphase, which includes G1 and S and G2. Remember that pie we drew? Interphase with chromatin, all ball of yarnish DNA, and a full nucleus to 4 separate phases of mitosis. Prophase, where there's a whole bunch of stuff going on, including the chromatin condensing into chromosomes, the nuclear envelope disappearing, the centrioles building this thing called the spindle. And then they line up. They line up so as to be divided efficiently. They line up in the middle of the cell in metaphase. Prophase, then metaphase. By the way, did anybody figure out the sticker question? Jane, what are spindle fibers made of? Outstanding. Microtubules. Jane gets a stick. For you.
I was.
Yeah, because remember, we talked about microtubules in the cell in chapter 7. That those are little tracks that cell parts can move across the cell on. You remember the video with the little motor protein trucking along? That's what this is. It's that kind of thing where they build the microtubules and then they start to shorten, and each of these things hitches on there, and that's the whole deal. Anytime you're moving something across a cell like that, you need microtubules. Then it's only metaphase for as long as they are lined up, and as soon as they split into sister chromatids, it's anaphase. They separate, they move away from each other. Here you can see how I thought that maybe dry erase marker would work on something other than my whiteboard. I tried to show students one year how the cell membrane kind of pinches in at the top and the bottom. You see the remnants of that? It doesn't come off. That was like 3 years ago. Still there. Tried rubbing alcohol. Yeah. Anyway, yeah. So it does. It kind of starts to pinch in like that. You know, like kind of like that. Looks like a butt. Yeah. So then that pinching in kind of continues through this, and then telophase. And telophase again is real busy, like prophase is. It's sort of all the opposite things that happen. Right? That the sister chromatids keep moving, the new nuclear envelopes form, nucleoli come back. Remember the nucleoli, right? That's the dense spot in the middle of the chromatin. Okay, and then actually toward the end, and I can't draw it well enough, but those chromosomes actually start to unwind back into that yarn-like chromatin. Yeah, and so then the very end of this is technically the end of mitosis, because at this point the nucleus has divided. But the very end here is when the cytoplasm finally splits, which is called cytokinesis. It's a little different in plants because, of course, the cell membrane of an animal, you can just do that pinching in. Whereas in a plant, it's more like just like this sort of hairline crack forms and the new cell wall is built. Any questions about all that? Did you have an okay time finding pictures of this stuff online while you had time to work? Okay. Did you have a decent amount of time to work? After you took notes? Good. Good. And you drew all this stuff in your notes, right? Awesome. So today we're going to take a little side trip. I'll show you those videos on Monday. This probably should begin this chapter, but we didn't have a good situation to do it in. But yeah, so.
Pardon interruption. This is Sully. Please call 4045.
100 trillion is a rough number as far as how many cells you have. You know what a trillion is, right? Like a million is 1,000 thousands. A billion is 1,000 millions. A trillion is 1,000 billions. And you have 100 of those, give or take, a few billion. And eukaryotic cells vary a little bit in size, not much. Riley.
Kind of a dumb question, but like when you're like a baby, do you have like less cells since you're smaller?
That's not a dumb question. That's exactly the question we're answering. It's like, when you get bigger, is it because your cells are getting bigger?
I mean, understand. This is Garrett. Please call 4045.
When, yeah, it was Wednesday. It was Wednesday. You said we have more cells multiplying than you do first.
You have more cells dividing than me. Yeah, absolutely. And a related question. What's the biggest animal on the planet? Blue whale is the biggest animal. I think it's supposed to be like the biggest animal that's ever been on the planet.
Shark. That was really
big. Elephants are also big. And so the related question is that because they have bigger cells? Yeah, so here's the answer is no. In both cases, you don't have smaller cells when you're a baby. An elephant doesn't have bigger cells than you. Even a blue whale has about the same size cells as you. So the big question here is, why is that? Why are cells so dang small? Side question, go.
This guy has more cells than that guy.
Is this guy taller?
A little bit.
A little bit or a lot?
A lot.
Yeah, this guy probably has more cells than this guy.
More cells than always.
I think it'll be short.
Now, some of these.
All right. That is the question we are going to answer today, and we are going to answer it with math. I know. But, okay, that's the bad news. The good news is you're going to answer it with math and snowmen.
Absolutely.
And the other good news is you are going to need your scissors and your tape today.
I'm not sure if you're going to.
I would love So here's the deal. You're going to need just a little bit of it, not a lot. And it's basically geometry. What you're going to do is you are going to build 3 different size cubes out of paper. I'm going to give you some paper, some blank paper. You are going to work with one other person in building these cubes so that you can divide the labor a little bit. You guys will sort of pair up the way you are, except Nathan and Olivia, you can sort of talk across there if you want. And as you're working together here, don't be like close together, because these pairs and then these 2 are together. Okay, so you can work together. You will get 2. Well, you'll each get a sheet of paper. What you want to do is build these cubes with the side length, as it says here. First cube is 2 centimeters per side. Second cube, 4 centimeters per side. Third cube, 6 centimeters per side. And you use the pattern that it gives you. So basically, it's almost like a cross. And this won't be perfect, but it's That's not bad. 6 squares, right? And you draw it like that with a ruler, making sure the sides are correct lengths, and then you cut it out all around the outside, not on these lines, right? Around the outside, and then you fold it up and tape it into a square. You'll have 3 different size squares, because of course cubes are much easier to do math with than blobs like cells, right? So we're sort of making artificial cells here. And we're going to do the math to figure out why cells are small, but there's no reason we shouldn't be creative. And so what you'll do with these cubes is make a snowman. And yes, I encourage you to decorate them and color them and put weird stuff on them. This is most definitely a contest. And the winner of the contest, the winning pair of people, will receive a small amount of extra credit. Remote kids, I'll consider you a class. You're doing this individually, but my favorite remote snowman will receive some extra credit. Just send me a picture of it. Oh yeah, no, I'm totally the judge. Like I am, and it might be that I think it's the funniest one or the most creative. Whatever you think is gonna make me happy, do that. So don't like down with Sandro's snowman or anything like that. Good. The only thing left here is for the math. Once you get to the math, you're going to need a couple of formulas if you don't know them already. First formula is going to be the surface area of a cube. Anybody know what that formula is? No. That's a good formula to know. It's not. What's the surface area of a square? Length times width? Are the length and width different in a square?
Width.
It's side squared.
Why do we call it squared? Oh, squared. Yeah, so how many squares are there on the faces of a cube? So the formula is 6s squared, yes? So that's surface area of a cube. What is the volume of a cube? How do you get that? Some of you, yeah. Length times width times height, except, wait, aren't they the same? Side what? Cube. Why do we call it cube? Oh. S for side, cubed. That's how you find those things, and you're going to need those in order to get the numbers that you need to prove why cells are small. The only thing left is, do you know what a ratio is? A ratio is something to something, right? And if your ratio works out to be something like 100 to 10, what do?
Simplify.
You reduce it, you simplify it, you can divide both of those by 10, it ends up being 10 to 1. Got it? All right, get to work. I will get, let's see, some tape. If you don't have tape, let me stop this recording. And then I'll get out rulers in case you don't have rulers.